The dark truth about girls' hostels in school. A story of fear, secrets, and redemption. The first night Amara stepped into the girls' hostel, she couldn't sleep. Not because she missed home. Not because of the unfamiliar faces. But because, at exactly 2:13 a.m., someone whispered her name. Amara. She opened her eyes. The room was completely dark. Her 3 roommates were asleep. Or at least, they looked asleep. Again. Amara. The voice sounded like it came from beneath her bed. Her heart pounded so loudly she could hear it in her ears. She slowly reached for her phone and switched on the flashlight. Nothing. Just an old pair of slippers. She laughed nervously. It must be stress, she whispered to herself. She didn't know that this was only the beginning. Amara had won a scholarship to one of the country's most prestigious boarding schools. Her widowed mother had worked day and night selling vegetables just to buy her school supplies. As the bus left the village, her mother held her hands tightly. Promise me one thing. I promise. No matter what happens, don't let anyone change the good person you are. Amara smiled. I won't. She believed those words. She had no idea how difficult keeping that promise would become. The girls' hostel looked beautiful from outside. Fresh paint. Flowers. Neat balconies. Parents admired it during registration. But students exchanged strange looks whenever someone mentioned Hostel C. Especially room 27. The seniors simply called it the silent room. Nobody explained why. On her second day, Amara met Zora. Unlike everyone else, Zora barely spoke. She avoided eye contact. She always seemed frightened. One evening Amara found bruises on Zora's arm. What happened? I fell. You don't have to lie. Zora forced a smile. I am fine. But she wasn't. Days passed. Amara noticed strange rules inside the hostel. No one was allowed to report bullying. Fresh students had to obey seniors without question. If someone refused, life became unbearable. Buckets disappeared. Uniforms were hidden. Assignments destroyed. Sometimes girls woke up with their hair cut while they slept. The teachers rarely believed the victims. It's just hostel life, they always said. Then Amara discovered the darkest secret. Every Friday night, some seniors organized what they called the loyalty test. New girls were forced into humiliating dares. Anyone who refused became everyone's target. Some cried. Some begged. Some eventually dropped out of school. Others simply learned to stay silent. Including Zora. One night, Amara was chosen. She stood in the middle of the room surrounded by laughing seniors. Choose, the leader said. Do the challenge. Or spend the rest of the year regretting it. Her legs trembled. She remembered her mother's words. Don't let anyone change the good person you are. I won't do it, she said quietly. The room became silent. Then came laughter. You think you're brave? By morning, her mattress had disappeared. Her books were soaked in water. Someone wrote "traitor" across her locker. The bullying had begun. For weeks Amara suffered. She cried herself to sleep. She considered asking her mother to take her home. But every time she packed her bag, she looked at Zora and the other frightened girls. If she left, who would help them? One evening she secretly recorded everything. The threats. The bullying. The forced initiations. The seniors laughing. She wasn't trying to destroy anyone. She simply wanted the truth to be seen. The evidence reached the school principal. An investigation began immediately. Teachers who ignored complaints were questioned. Parents were called. Several senior students admitted what had been happening for years. Some cried. Some apologized. Some confessed they had once been victims too. They believed hurting others was the only way to survive. The cycle had continued for generations. Until someone finally said, "No." Months later, the hostel looked different. Students attended anti-bullying workshops. Counselors visited every week. Anonymous complaint boxes appeared. Senior mentorship replaced intimidation. Zora slowly found her confidence. She even became the class representative. One afternoon she hugged Amara. "You saved me." Amara smiled. "No. You saved yourself. You just needed someone to remind you that your voice matters." Graduation day arrived. Amara's mother watched proudly from the crowd. "Did school change you?" she asked afterward. Amara smiled through tears. "It did." Her mother looked worried. "In a bad way?" "No. It taught me that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to protect others even when you're afraid." Her mother embraced her tightly. "I knew you'd keep your promise." Years later, Amara returned to the same school. Not as a student, but as a counselor. She listened to frightened girls, encouraged lonely students, and reminded every new arrival of one simple truth: the darkest secrets survive in silence. The moment someone speaks with courage, darkness begins to lose its power. Because redemption doesn't always begin with forgiveness. Sometimes it begins with one brave voice refusing to stay silent. The end.